Am I the asshole for evicting my niece for being irresponsible? Before we start, sorry for the long write. Here's some backstory. I, F30, let my niece, F20, live in the basement of my house while she's in university until she can find a place of her own. I am married to my husband, M30, and we have one child, F3. We live in a decently large house with a full basement. At Christmas 2 years ago, my sister, F45, announced that her daughter, let's call Ella, had been accepted to the university of her dreams. I just so happened to live a few bus stops away from this school, so naturally as a good aunt I decided to put the offer for her to live with us while she went to school there. I had a few conditions obviously, but nothing too over the top. 1. Pay rent. The rent isn't expensive either. It's a lot cheaper than most other places in our city. 2. If she's going to be staying with us she needs to have a job. A plan to move out as soon as she's financially able. 3. If she is having friends over she should make sure we're okay with it and just to keep her party decently quiet since we do have a toddler. To be honest, she was a pretty good tenant. She paid rent on time. She was an extremely good student. She even had dinner with us and offered to watch our daughter while we had date nights. Around her 20th birthday she got a bit more irresponsible. She lost her job, which was a fairly well-paying job, meaning she stopped paying all rents. She became a lot louder, which as a student I wouldn't be too concerned about, but it was getting to the point where she would invite random people over for parties and the neighbors would call the police for the noise. I hit my limit when I found out she was kicked out of the school she worked so hard to get into. I called my sister to ask if she knew anything about all of this and she for some reason was angry and yelled, "Who cares, she's just living her life," and hung up. As expected, I was furious, so I did my little snooping and I called her old manager to figure out why she was fired. Turns out she was dealing on the job. I have no idea why or where she would have gotten any of that, but she did. I emailed the dean of the school she attended and apparently she just stopped showing to her class and basically failed. I took it upon myself to talk to my husband and her father since my sister wanted nothing to do with any of this. I wrote up a little letter telling her she had to move out within 2 weeks or I'll be removing her stuff myself and she'll be basically homeless. The day of, her mother showed up to my door screaming at me and her daughter hadn't even packed anything up. My husband called the police and they removed her. AITA. Edit. My apologies for not making this clear at all. I should have mentioned that I have connection with the dean. Nothing illegal was going on between us in any way. The dean of the school and I used to date in high school, but we decided to be friends instead. Not that this is important, but that's why we had been in contact. He knows my family and vice versa, which is the only reason I asked anything about her school issues. I had emailed him and we met for lunch, caught up, then discussed the issue. I swear nothing was illegal, and for those asking, no, I am not from the USLMAO. Definitely not the asshole. You and your husband have a toddler, and if your niece was selling drugs at work and got fired for it, there is a really good chance she was selling out of your house or at least there in the neighborhood. If her mom, your sister, can't understand why that would be an issue, that is 1000% not your fault or problem and is more indicative of her and her failings as a parent. You did the right thing to ensure the safety of your husband and child, and as much as falling out with family sucks hard, I think that you should take comfort in knowing that you did what you needed to do to protect your home and family. Hope everything is okay for you and gets better. Not the asshole. Who wants a drug dealer in their house? All of your family was at risk while she was there, as she probably had over some very shady individuals. I can also imagine your relationship with the neighbors is not exactly great now due to the parties and the noise. You did the right thing. Is this real? Are you in the US? I can tell you employers can't tell family members job status and universities can't give enrollment, grade status. Not the asshole, you have to protect yourself and your property. Change your locks, and be prepared for some of her associates to show up. Hell no, not the asshole. She broke all of your rules, she wasn't paying rent, and you have a young child there. You gave her warning, too. Your sister is probably pissed because she wants her kid to be your problem. Am I the asshole for shouting at my father and calling my stepmother a gold digger for kicking me out? Here is some background context before I, 20, go further. My father, 48, was never present in my early life as he and my mother divorced when I was very young and he moved 6 hours away for work. But eventually we rekindled and were on good terms in my mid-teens. Once I graduated, my father asked if I would like to come and live with him, my stepmother, 28, and my older sister, 24. to make up for the fact that I never really had the chance to see him growing up. I was hesitant as I had landed a very high-paying job straight out of school and was also planning on moving in with a few friends. My older sister had been living with them since she was 19 and said she'd like to have me around, so I caved, and just after my 19th birthday I quit my job, cancelled my plans to move away with my friends, and packed all my stuff into my car. To be honest, it was great living with him, but I struggled settling into the new town, making friends, getting a job, etc. Fast forward to 2 weeks ago and I've found a job, have made friends, and am dirt poor because I've spent all my money on a trip to Spain with said friends. 4 days before I leave, my sister suddenly moves out as one of her friend's roommates moved away, so she very quickly in the space of a few days moved in with her friend. All good. I go on my trip for 2 weeks and came back 3 days ago as of writing this post. The first day I was back, my father and stepmother were very nice and welcoming, picking me up from the airport, asking how it all went, wanting to see pictures, but after having dinner they said that they wanted to talk to me about something serious. They sat me down and explained that while they really like having me around, they loved having their own space and house to themselves more, and that they wanted me out in 3 weeks. They said they'd help me move my stuff and that I'd always be allowed to stop by. I was shocked and very hurt. I brought up that they wanted me to move in with them and that my older sister had been living with them the last 4 or 5 years. We went back and forth for about an hour arguing until I reached a boiling point. I just started shouting and told them how hurt I was, how it was bullshit that I moved away from home and lost a great job and opportunity just for this. My stepmother said that I was too old to be living with them anyways and that I was acting like a leech. I pay them rent and buy my own food. And so I told her that was ironic coming from a gold digger. After that they told me to pack my things and leave and that I wasn't welcome back, which I did. I'm now staying with my sister until I can find somewhere to stay. They haven't talked to me since and my sister agrees that it was messed up for them to do. I get you eventually have to move out of home, but inviting me to live with you when I'm doing well and then kicking me out when I'm broke feels like such a betrayal to me, so am I the asshole for how I reacted? And #X200B. Edit. Sorry I wasn't clear. I've lived with them a year. They didn't kick me out as soon as I moved in. Happy to answer any other questions or miscommunications. Not the asshole. They invited you to move to live with them so that they could kick you out. I was acting like a leech. I pay them rent and buy my own food. I don't think that they understand what leech means in this context. My stepmother said that I was too old to be living with them. You're 4 years younger than your sister was when she lived with them. Not the asshole. They emphatically invited you, and suddenly changed their mind after you had shifted around your entire life to accommodate them. That's completely unacceptable. I am still curious. Why did your sister suddenly move out after telling you that she wanted you around? Did they kick her out too? Were things always bad? Your first mistake was quitting a high-paying job to go live with people you barely know. Doesn't matter if they're family or not, that wasn't very smart. Why would you quit a high-paying job to go live with them, just because they suggested it? Not sure why you passed a good job up. Sorry, move on. Am I the asshole for not allowing my daughter to play with the neighboring kid? We, early 30s, moved into our house 2 years ago. It's at the end of the road, so we have 2 neighbors, one across the street and one next to us. I know them since I was 10 because the neighbors next to us are the parents of a former classmate, Lillian, with whom I was friends at that time. Lillian bought the house across the street a few years ago because she wanted to live near her parents. Her sister Beth, mid-30s, moved in with her parents a few months ago. Beth and I have been friends ever since school because both of us got bullied in high school, not at the same time, and bonded over our experience and the love for nerdy stuff like books, games and anime. Lillian and I grew apart when I got bullied because Lillian wanted to be one of the cool kids. She never bullied me, but she never took my side at that time, and I assume she was a bit jealous because I had better grades than her. Never mind. The years are passing by. Lillian and I have contact maybe once a year until we bought our house. Lillian was not amused because, if she had known that the previous owner passes away soon, she would have waited and bought our house instead, because it's bigger and right next to her parents. Lillian has a son Ryan, 4, and we have a daughter Amy, 4. Amy goes to kindergarten in our old town, 10-minute drive away, because all of her friends are there and the preschool program is much better. Ryan visits the local kindergarten. Lillian made sure that the kids didn't have contact as long as she held her grudge against us, but now as Beth lives here too, Lillian is friendlier and lets the kids play together. And now comes the problem. Ryan has massive bully vibes. I know they are little kids, but as soon as other kids, his friends, are involved, they start to exclude Amy and bully her. Last time they played at Lillian's parents' garden, they tried to pour cold water over Amy's head while she was on the swing. When Amy ran away, they chased her with water guns, making fun of her. I took her and we left because she was so sad. Another example. Ryan pretends to not knowing her name when others are around. But when his friends are not there, he is rather nice to Amy and they play together. Beth thinks it's funny. Lillian thinks her golden child makes nothing wrong. I don't know what to do now. I don't want Amy to be sad, but I want to protect her from the bully vibes because I know how cruel bullying is. Amy is one of the shy kids and has no friends here in the new town. It's pretty little, so all the other same-aged kids are friends with Ryan, maybe 5 or 6 kids with the same age in total. She cries when he and his friends are mean to her, but on the other side she is just happy when he is nice to her when they are alone. Am I the asshole if I don't let Amy play with Ryan anymore? I am okay with Lillian hating me for this, but I would be sad if it ruins my friendship with Beth. Amy is too young to decide for herself. Maybe I am overreacting because I got bullied in school. Not the asshole. I do find it really weird that Beth thinks it's funny, especially considering your shared being bullied experiences. Have you ever talked to her about this when it was just the two of you? Not the asshole. My parents did the same with the neighbor's kids. She should not be playing with Ryan. NTA. Not the asshole, but no offense. I wouldn't want to be friends with someone who thinks it's funny to watch my kid being bullied. I think you're doing right by your kid. We have a neighbor with a rough home life. His mom doesn't seem to like him very much. He's a bully, understandably. Probably the only way he can have any control over anything. And my son asks to play a lot. I'll have him over outside while I supervise, but that's it. My son isn't allowed to his house. He isn't allowed inside my house. This is where my kids should feel the safest, and I'll be damned if I invite a bully over, regardless that I feel bad for the kid. Am I the asshole for making my daughter put on more clothes for church? I'm fully prepared to get ripped apart for this, but I'm really struggling with what the right thing to do was. I don't normally tell my children what to wear or what to buy. I have 3 daughters, 15 and 16 and 24, and a son, 23. The youngest 2 have been going to local summer concerts and festivals here. They have bought some festival wear for those, including corset tops and skirts. I am fine with the corset tops for festivals, concerts, going out with friends. A few of the corset tops look like lingerie. Which again, I am fine with normally. Yesterday was my Mills Mass, a year since she passed. My husband and I go to church every week, other than that I don't leave the house. We are friendly with the priest and a few of the people there. My only friends are at church. We left early, leaving the kids to get ready on their own. The kids don't normally come to Mass, but it was important to my husband as it was a memorial Mass. My youngest was going to another music festival that same night, and our 16-year-old had joked was she going to go in her pink corset top and concert wear. My youngest said, "Obviously not, I'll go home and change first." The 16-year-old was laughing when she said this, so obviously knew it wasn't appropriate attire and it was a joke. I was very happy to see them all arrive at church. The 16-year-old gets out of the car in a white skirt, which was very short but stylish and would have been fine if it had another top, and a white lace corset top. The top is see-through in between the boning. It literally looks like something out of a lingerie shop. I won't get into other details, but it was very small. I know these are the style these days, but just not for church. Admittedly, I was really embarrassed. I went up to her and whispered, "You can't wear that here." "What were you thinking?" She insisted she was wearing an equivalent amount of clothes to her younger sister. I told her firstly, that wasn't true, but secondly, the problem was that the corset looked like lingerie and the style is just not okay for church. I told her since she made the joke earlier that she knew it was wrong and doing this was a big F you to me. She was defiant and said there was nothing wrong with it. I told her to sit in the back of the car and sent her sister home to get her a sweater. A few people from church saw her and our priest. I told her it was really embarrassing she had shown up to church like that. She was then rude to all my friends and came inside with an attitude. I don't know if I should have just let her come in and said nothing. It was literally clubwear. She feels like I slut-shamed her, but I told her I was happy with the outfit and even the amount of clothes, but it was the fact it looks like underwear that embarrassed me. I don't want to be that type of mom, but I also think there has to be limits sometimes. Am I the a-hole? I was fully expecting you to be the asshole here, but, holy shit, what was she thinking? I don't know about your denomination or anything, but most churches in my area, if not all, honestly, won't even let you in with your shoulders uncovered. And to do this for a service on honor of her grandma's? Listen, I'm not one to care for religion and/or restrictions around clothing, but this is just plain disrespectful. Now, she's 16 and probably didn't think it through, so she doesn't deserve nuclear punishment or anything, but I would have a talk with her about respect. Try to see if you can make her understand that you're all for her dressing in a way that makes her feel confident, but there are boundaries that should be respected. Edit 'cause I forgot. You're not the asshole. Not the asshole. Her outfit was completely inappropriate for the setting and she's old enough to understand that. Not the asshole. You stated that you're fine with such attire for other instances, just not for church. I also don't think you slut-shamed her. There was an expectation there that they clearly understood, but she decided to disregard it. Not the asshole, and you are way more welcoming to her attire than my mom would have been when I was 16. It is also really sad she is using the term, slut-shamed, as she is a minor. How come you don't leave your house?